Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
My talk this evening is going to be centered on a piece of rigatoni. Now, this may seem of no surprise because I'm Italian and I love pasta. But we'll get to this piece of rigatoni a little bit later. First, I want to invite us to do a yoga pose, if you'll indulge me. Take your right hand and place it over your left shoulder. Take your left hand and place it around your ribs, and then squeeze. Give yourself a hug. This is a hug from all of us here at Unity. We wish you were here and we could hug you and love on you. So we're sending you virtual hugs. We're glad you're with us tonight. My message tonight, life comes to pass. So where did that phrase come from about life coming to pass? It came from an ancient story of an Eastern monarch who was riddled with trials and tribulations in his kingdom. People were always coming to him, complaining, problems. And so he drew together his counselors and his wise men, and he asked them to come up with a motto, something that would apply to any situation in life, positive, negative, highs, lows, trials and distress. It had some stipulations. It had to be short, and it had to be short enough that he could get it printed on his ring so he could have it before him at all times. It had to be appropriate for every situation. It had to be wise and true and endlessly enduring, and it had to be words that a person could be guided by all of their life. And so the wise men and the counselors got together, and they argued about it, they prayed about it, they discussed it, and it went on and on. They tried different words, and finally they came up with 5 words that could apply to any situation in life. This too shall pass away. This too shall pass away. Good, bad, whatever it is, this too shall pass away. This story comes from Eric Butterworth's In the Flow of Life that we've been sourcing for this past few, this series of talks that we've been giving at our satsang, and so I have a couple more stories that just touch my heart and seem to really speak to the moment of what's going on with us with this coronavirus pandemic, work from home, shelter in place situation that we've been experiencing. So I invite you first to affirm with me, I accept the reality of this situation, but not its permanence. I accept the reality of this situation, but not its permanence. One more time. I accept the reality of this situation, but not its permanence. That it came to pass and not to stay. We can get so caught up in a tunnel vision of what we're experiencing now that it feels like, oh, is this how life is going to be? There's no point in pretending that it's not happening and just kind of burying your head or denying or just going on with what you normally would do in being close to people or hugging people or having dinner parties or whatever it is, because we're following guidelines for each other. We're really being called into taking action, not simply out of our individual needs, also out of our collective, really considering the collective and all people on a global level. Here at Unity, there are 5, 6, 7 of us. We have less than 10. It's a skeleton crew here. So grateful for us here, and that we're doing this, but just to let you know that we have minimal staff here because we're really being conscious of observing those guidelines. But we're feeling you. We're just knowing that we're excited that your presence is with us, and the space feels full with your love and light. Psalm 30, verse 5 says, "Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning." That the sadness, the grief, the suffering that we see so much on television and internet that we can take in, to know that there is joy and rejoicing, and there's transformation on the other side of that. And there's even joy right here, right now, in this moment. We can create that now in our experience. Know that this situation doesn't have to limit you, that you can do it on your own terms. So working from home, you can wear your fuzzy slippers under your desk. I've done that. You can have your cool iced tea or whatever it is, and take nature breaks. Did you do that when you were at the office? You got off of your webinar or your Zoom meeting and just went outside and picked some flowers or hugged a tree? I feel like as a spiritual teacher that I should be creating like these deep spiritual videos that I put out to let people know what globally is happening, that kind of thing. And what I've really been guided to do is just create fun videos with my daughter, her just going out and playing with a caterpillar or picking berries off of a tree, and just reminding everyone that we love them, we're thinking of them, and just bringing some joy. And that's just what it's fun for us, and a way to keep our hearts light. You can create a beautiful space in your home. That's something that we've been doing. We have things around I meant to hang that up. Or that poster, I had this poster I met from a trip to Europe in 1997 with my college. And it's this beautiful painting that I thought, well, I need to get a frame for that. It's this big, it needs a frame. So for years, it was bound up in my closet. And so finally, I just took some thumbtacks out and I put it up. And my husband's like, don't you want to get a frame for that? I'm like, no, I really want to enjoy it now, because it just seems like this experience is bringing us so into the now. I just want to do and have everything in use and functioning to support the well-being of myself and my loved ones and everyone around me. So going out into sacred space, hugging a tree, we're actually so grounding, something that my daughter and I have done. And what's really cool is that you can touch everything in nature and it doesn't have a virus on it. It's fresh and clean and safe. So that's just a cool way to stay grounded. And to recognize that the divinity in you is greater than any situation. Let us always remember that truth. So the only certainty in life is change. That's for sure. Our bodies are constantly changing. It's amazing that over the course of 10 years, our body does not have any of the same atoms that it had 10 years ago, not one of the same atoms. We change, get wrinkles, and our body changes as you get older. It's been really cool to see my daughter grow from a little infant I held in my arms to a 3-foot, 4-year-old whose eye color has changed since she's been born, and her voice keeps changing and maturing, and just everything, it's just constantly in process. So we could say, oh, I really wish she could have been an infant forever. I loved holding her and just her being in diapers and that whole thing. That was wonderful for that moment. I'll always have those memories. And there's something so beautiful happening in her now. And so there's something so beautiful happening in every situation, in every person, as we recognize the continuity of life. We're really being called in this intense experience to shift from fear to faith, to follow our inner guidance when we have uncertainty and we don't know what's next, or even what kind of food that is going to last as long as we need, or that kind of thing. To go to God about everything. And we strengthen that muscle, that spiritual muscle, and we recognize that that's there and it's always been there and it will continue to be there. Last week, when we did our time of prayer at the beginning of the service, I shared a breathing exercise that I got from one of my teachers, my metaphysics teacher, Paul Hasselbeck. He had shared this, and the purpose of this exercise is to address that when we feel stress, the actual chemicals released restrict the blood flow to our frontal cortex, so that actually we're not thinking as clearly and we become kind of stupid. Okay, we're not using our higher thinking nature. So he offered this breathing technique called the Calm and Connect technique that I want to share with you again, because I've been doing it during Zoom meetings. I've just been whenever I feel that. I don't know if you've been feeling this, but I've been feeling sometimes just my heart racing as I start thinking about what's happening, how many times am I going to look at the death count and make an evaluation about what does that mean for where I live or where my family lives or where this person is, and So this is the breathing technique I want to invite you into. It's breathe in for a count of 4 through your nose, pause. Breathe out for a count of 6 through pursed lips and pause. And do that at least 3 times. So I invite you to join with me in doing that now. Breathe in 4. Pause. Exhale through pursed lips. Pause. Breathe in nose. Pause. Exhale. Pause. Breathe in nose. Pause. Exhale lips. Pause. Now I can think more clearly. So that's so simple. And it moves us from the flight, fight, freeze response into the relaxation response. It stimulates the vagus nerve and helps us to reestablish ourselves in our higher thinking nature, where we're going to receive that inner guidance that's always present. We can be open to it and not consumed by the fear and the anxiety that we can find ourselves in, which is a natural response. As we release the anxiety, the solution will flow into our consciousness and our experience. We're not here to fail, we're here to pass. So it came to pass, and we're not here to fail, we're here to pass. We're simply going through the grade levels of life, and now seems like PhD work that we're doing together, collectively, as we move forward. Now, no one said your shelter in place needed to be a prison. I wanted to share with you a story about a man who was sentenced to 5 years in the penitentiary. He got in there and he was angry, he was resentful, he experienced self-loathing, hostility. He couldn't relate to the prisoners, he couldn't relate to the warden, the guards. He was in resistance, and even when people tried to be friendly with him, he brushed them away. He just chose to be unhappy. One day the prisoner met a fellow prisoner who decided to share with him some wisdom around this situation. He said, look, if you start doing something worthwhile, these 5 years are going to pass before you know it. Why not spend your time getting ready for your life beyond this time in prison? You could use this time to get a college education, make connections with the other prisoners. You're only hurting yourself by the attitudes that you're bringing into this situation that you've been displaying. So he recognized how he was limiting himself and his experience just by the way he was projecting onto the other people his negativity, his inner hurt, his unforgiveness. So he shifted. He started being friendly to the other prisoners and inmates, that they started being friendly to him. He made friends. He learned people's names. He was invited to enroll in a class that was on radio repairing. And he grew to love it, that every day he was looking forward to taking the radio repair class. And he would go, he'd take it. The warden recognized that he was really excelling in this class, and he put him into advanced classes on radio and electronics. This is a real story. And time passed so quickly that when he was in 4 years, he was paroled for good behavior, and he felt like he wasn't ready to go because he felt like he was really living into this and he hadn't completed his education. He was reluctant, but of course he did leave, and he went on to lead a well-adjusted life. He was taken into service for the government during World War II and became a highly regarded specialist in the field of electronics. His experience as a prisoner came to pass. So what's something positive that you can get out of this experience that you're in right now? It's amazing what's out there, what's being released for free. Free books on Kindle, free virtual museum tours, free college courses, learn a language. People are, you can get, well, my jazzercise is online, yoga, exercise. There's so much that's being made available. And so if we can be flexible and we can allow ourselves to expand, because we have extra time because we're not commuting in Houston traffic or wherever you are traffic, right? I felt like, wow, I have that extra hour because we're still working. I'm sure many of you are still working. And I know some of you have shared with us that you've lost your work because of this situation, and our hearts are with you. And so you are being called into a different use of your time. And so you can use this time to grow your skills and expand and to know that you are fully supported by God every moment of the way. So we're going to get to this rigatoni. I want to tell you about a little girl who had a fear of tunnels. Every time that she was on a train or in the car with her parents, when they went through a tunnel, she would bury her head in her mom's lap. She was afraid of the dark. She didn't like it. She didn't like to be in that enclosed space. And as she got older, things changed, and she had a different perspective, and her parents noticed that she became less and less fearsome of that condition. That she even came to like tunnels. And she said she liked them because they have light at both ends. They have light at both ends. Like the rigatoni. my little tunnel here. So I know that a lot of us maybe have bought a lot of pasta because it's a good non-perishable staple to have at home. We've got some extra pasta. So you might want to, not now, we want you to stay on the live stream. Don't leave, but later, get yourself if you have some pasta with, like this, could be penne, get yourself a piece of rigatoni and look at it and recognize that the hard pasta, that's your problem. It's got ridges, hard, rigid, right? And we can do this. We can close off the light and just keep ourselves stuck there in the tunnel, in fear, in anxiety, and stress. How simple it is to look through and see the light, recognizing there's light at both ends. And when the water gets so hot to a boiling point, many of us are experiencing now, that recognize that when you take that problem and you drop it into the boiling water, it becomes soft and malleable, and it becomes nourishment. You ever try to eat hard pasta? When I was a kid, I did. I remember trying to eat, because we had a lot of pasta around. I was Italian, right? And it tastes disgusting, okay? once it's in the boiling water and it becomes nourishment to your body, and you can put your sauce and your cheese and just really make a nice meal, right? Take your pasta, your rigatoni, into your time of contemplation and think about your problem. And think about what in you're ready to soften, to release, to forgive, to let go, so you can melt into this experience, to be in the flow of life, and to expand. We love you. We're grateful you're with us tonight.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.